Steve Spiro, you're a mentor, you're a consultant, you're a business owner, but most importantly, you're a host of your own show and you're also a master connector.
Steve Spiro is one of my idols, and I love listening to everything that he does. He's such a dynamic individual.
Some of the topics I really enjoy speaking on is how to really connect, whether it be in person or through social media. I love to lead with my weaknesses. I lead with, my vulnerabilities. It's fine because I'm okay with who I am. Number two is how to go from being inward focused, self-focused, into others focused. Being willing to give and go out there and look to serve. That will attract the right things. Another one is on leveraging LinkedIn to really grow your business. You could reach a lot more people. You could broadcast a message to people that actually consented to want to know you. And then lastly, overcoming big obstacles.
I love sharing. I was a shy, introverted kid, picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic, really in a dark place. I was really in a box in a shell, and I've been able to break out of that box. And so I love being able to inspire people and really help them. So the Master Connector was born.
The world is my networking event, right? I meet people all the time. My goal is to meet 3 strangers every single day.
Steve is open to meeting you. You should set up a face-to-face with Steve. One little conversation can really change your life. Man, I am so excited about this show today, Steve. I just want to tell you really briefly, when you share your authentic story, right? I remember this moment and, I was thinking about impactful moments. And I remember going through traffic as the mother to my girlfriend who is pregnant. I'm 19 and I'm going through traffic. I'm leaving my internship at Roadrunner Records. I don't even know why I'm there at that internship. I'm into hip hop and R&B, and that's a rock and roll label, but I'm in traffic and I'm headed towards a hospital in New Jersey to my girlfriend's bedside and my newborn son at 19 years old, just panicking because this is all happening. My son is almost 5 months premature. And that's the start of who I am and who through this show, why I'm so passionate about education and opportunity, because I was certainly lost. And so finding myself is something that's been really amazing. I have a wife of 18 years now. We have 4 kids together. I wish I could have done more for my child. He's out there in the world. He's doing things, but we don't have a great relationship. He lived through that. He was dying, born into a toilet bowl, and I'm racing towards the hospital, right? And so this is all going through my mind. And flash forward to today, me sharing that story with you. I know you get a little bit more insight into why I'm passionate about the things that I do. And that's what we're going to be talking about, connecting authentically. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. Make sure you're networking. That is my little start to the show. Hopefully that hooked you in. Love to hear your story. Steve, I know you're going to tell yours. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's a hard one at the top there, Cameron, but, for sure. But, we all have our pivotal moments in our life. And for me, there's many pivotal moments. Obviously, if you watch the intro video, shy, introverted, and picked on, bullied. But I remember, being with my grandma Gertie in the house. And I remember, she sort of, gave me a piece of drawing paper and a pen, and I started drawing, and I started drawing inanimate objects in the house, and I found I had some talent, and that was the pivotal point in my grandmother kind of leading me in the direction of art, advertising, and that's the career I chose. Not going into my dad's liquor store industry, going into that industry, having a great career in that, but always wanting more. We were broke. We were broke as a family. Hardly had any money, and I always wanted to do better. And so obviously that was the driving force behind me, and eventually getting a couple black belts, eventually going on to own a company, eventually going on to technology consulting, and now wanted to, touch the world and be the light to the world by being the master connector and be able to be an influence on a lot of people in a speaking career. So pretty awesome. I'm excited. And, today I know we want to talk about connecting authentically. And I wanted to say that to really succeed in business and in life, you really need to learn how to connect with people authentically, especially now in this new normal, with technology being this barrier that we have, right? So it's so important today, Cameron.
Yeah, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but like, we got virtual backgrounds. Like, it's easy to be like, oh man, these people, I don't know where they're coming from. So more than ever important to kind of cut through that and really let people know where you're coming from. I know we got 30 minutes, right? 28 minutes left in the show, and we want to get to it all. So Steve, and I want to shout out, we got Marissa. So we got a few people watching. Marissa's in here. She's saying she's from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for watching the show. Lisa Marie connecting from Connecticut. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Steve, you say to really succeed in business and life, you need to learn how to connect with people authentically, especially in this new normal. How do people start? So we're going to start with connecting authentically on social media. How should people do that through their LinkedIn and their other social media channels?
So some of you guys who know me, I know that I had an advertising company, and my partner said, hey, we got a good news. We're going to send you to a course, Dale Carnegie course. And it was how to win friends and influence people. So one thing I would highly recommend is grow your people skills. I needed a lot of growth in that area. Let me just say that, a lot. I had the personality of a brick, I'd rather hit you with it than speak to you. And so get that book. That's a great book. Also, Les Gibling's Skill with People. So those are some basics. Just start working on your people skills. Just start where you are. You don't have to be perfect, but just start. But I do want to dive into the first section here, Cameron, which is connecting authentically on social media. And I really want to talk about, you did a great job. I'm still working to be as good as you, Cameron, on the telling of the story on video, but telling stories, right? I put out a post recently about, my first business card with my dad as having a sign making company. And, when I was like 12 years old, and all these things, right? Be personal. Tell some stories. It could be a picture, it could be a video, but be personal. Don't be afraid to be real. You want to be yourself. You don't want to, you don't want to be some fake version of you. Lead with vulnerability, right? I throw it out all the time, right? Cameron, you do as well with the fact that, you had a kid at 19 years old, and why not lead with some of the things that you're vulnerable about, right? Because I think it's what makes us, it defines us, right?
Those are the things that really start shaping your motivation. And I think if you share your motivations with other people, they start to know, oh, wow, this person isn't just a business XYZ person, but they actually are a real person, right? That's what authentic means. Like, you're real.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a shame we have the world of social media, and there's a lot of people that claim to be they have these jet setter lives. We don't see it necessarily so much on LinkedIn, but a lot on the other platforms like Instagram, where that half 1 week vacation, they pretend like that's their lifestyle for the rest of for their life, and meanwhile they probably put themselves in debt to do that trip for that 1 week, to wherever it was. Maybe it was Cancun or wherever, But so be yourself, right? Make sure you're in terms of LinkedIn, that you've worked on your about section. We covered that in one of our last episodes on authentically telling a story there. Don't just make it a resume, but it's okay to be a little vulnerable. Talk a little bit about, like Cameron in his story talked about how he was, robbed at knife point, growing up as a kid, and that shaped him, right? So things like that, right? And then the last thing is, make sure your messaging is not pitchy, whether it be in your actual message or whether you're messaging somebody in the platform. Never pitch, right? I love the book, Ditch the Pitch. It's a great book. So, but those are some key points. Just make sure you're being yourself, be your true self, and make sure it's consistent across all platforms. You don't want to
shout out a few people.
Sure, please.
So we got Melissa Carleen checking in from McKinney, Texas. We got Stephanie, longtime community member, not a first-time viewer. Stephanie Sabata, thank you so much for showing up from Cornwall and Hudson. This LinkedIn user, I'm not sure who that is, but we'll make sure you get the StreamYard.com/Facebook so that you can show up on the broadcast. We got Marissa Blose checking in, Lisa Marie, I think I mentioned. So we're going to jump into it. So next 5 minutes, we're going to talk about video calls, which is so important right now. Let's get into it.
100%. So the first thing is, and I don't know, Cameron, you might have some visuals behind to go on this, but make sure you have a good background, right? If you're doing, if it's going to be a group setting, it's okay to have a cool background behind you. But if you're doing a one-on-one, you want to have, a good, clean background. It should be something authentic, something that speaks to you, right? This is not what you see behind me, a good example when you're speaking one-on-one, but keep it clean. If you do have a green screen, use something that's relevant to you. Invest in good lighting. There's so many good, these ring lights that you can invest in. You can get them at like $5 and below or very cheap. They're, get them on Amazon, right? That's the new thing, right? We've invested in some of those here, right? Get a good camera. Make sure that there's good sound. Your camera is pretty good. Like I have I'm working off a laptop here, but I do have an external camera, right? It was made, I don't know, 80 or 90 bucks. It wasn't super expensive, but get a good camera. And then the last thing that I want to talk about on this particular topic, it looks like he's got some pictures. There you go. All right, we were talking about backgrounds, right? You could see in the image there. Don't do the ones on the right and the bottom, right? If you're speaking one-on-one. Now, by the way, that image behind me, the flag, and that's actually from my house, but it's actually a green screen, a picture from behind my house, because it's something that gives, again, we talked about being personal and vulnerable, right? A lot of times I jump on a call and people are like, tell me about the flag. Tell me about the arrow back there. That's the value of that. If you have this pitchy kind of background, and you're talking one-on-one, what I think is when I get on with you is, he or she's about to sell me, right? So make sure it's legitimate, right? And then the last point I want to talk about is have eye contact, right? Right now on purpose, I'm looking directly at the camera, which means I'm looking you in the eye. Make sure you do that. Cameron, you're really good. I've learned from you on that one. I continue to get schooled on that one. How you're good at leaning in and looking at the camera, and it's hard. It's harder for me, but I'm sure if it's harder for me, it's probably hard for everybody. But that is a great thing, and try not to be distracted. Definitely, and I'm working on this too. Don't look down on your phone a lot. If you're gonna look at something, I like to tell people when I'm taking notes, when I'm speaking to them, that I tell them I'm taking notes so they don't think I'm texting. But make sure your background's not distracting. Make sure you're looking them in the eye, and you're keeping the conversation very much about you. And that's the other thing, right? When you're connecting with somebody, make sure that conversation is more about them. It doesn't have to be so much about you. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on some of the points that are good for whether you're talking to somebody in person or on video.
I think we're good on time here, so I'm going to add my 2 cents in here.
Sure.
I actually connect from a virtual screen. So a lot of times when I'm connecting from my office, I'm connecting from a screen that looks like this. I might have the BizDev Live logo in the background. And so if that makes more sense because your background's a mess, it's crazy, do that. I think one of the things that I sort of do to lend authenticity to what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm leading just right off the bat. I want to hear your story or, let you know where I'm coming from. But also you start where you are. For me, I have a chaotic background. I got a desk that sometimes somebody's sitting at, really right behind my desk. I have files. My office wasn't built for video presentations. So I threw a big green screen behind me. Now, what's coming next, though, after 2 years of living this pandemic life and doing this, I'm like, all right, I'm going to reorganize my office so I can put some tchotchkes and some personality behind me so I can do exactly what Steve is doing. So, hey, you are where you are, and you got to make it work somehow, make it fun, make it easy for you. Don't stress yourself out with this stuff. We're talking about tips that help you level up. All right.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Great points. All really good points. The next section that we want to speak about is connecting authentically and making new friends. This is when you meet them in person, right? And this is a tough one. Again, remember, shy, introverted guy, picked on, bullied, all this stuff, right? I'm the last guy, that this would be a comfort thing for me. I was taught as a kid, don't talk to strangers, right? Whatever, they're going to kidnap you or something, right? as a New Yorker, you're afraid if somebody is gonna, talk, they're gonna shoot you if you speak to them or speak to a stranger. Now that's out and about living in your life, but this could be applicable to whether it be in a networking event. I want you to take this mindset here, or socially when you're at a cocktail party. It doesn't have to be only out and about living your life, but it's great practice. I live my life, and you probably heard in the video, where the world is my networking event. That is true. I tried. I was at the Liz and I went to see great show, by the way, Moulin Rouge down at Broadway. Beautiful show, amazing show, a lot of fun, and of course made a new friend while I was there. Why not? It's just a great way to do it. So here's some things, preparation for when you're going out and about and you're living your life and you want to be ready. Number one, craft your story and practice it. Now, Cameron was on my case a little bit on that, but making sure to practice your story, right? Craft it out, spell it out, right? So I'll give you an example. When I'm meeting somebody out and about, my story is really short, because they're going to ask you, so what do you do, Steve? And my answer is this. Well, I started my first company out of college in advertising, did that for a lot of years, transitioned into technology, now consulting. I had a karate studio. Now I do speaking. I've got a live broadcast. I've done a lot of things. How about yourself? What about you? And that's it. So, it's not like it's really, to me, it's just something enough to whet their appetite and get back to them so that you could really understand a little bit more about them. Okay. So make sure you've crafted your story and practice it. Next thing, dress so you feel good. Make sure you're if you're whatever your situation is, if you're going to a fancy cocktail party, dress up. If you're going to be out and about, you don't want to be dressed up in something uncomfortable. If it's going to be a networking, dress appropriately. Make sure the stuff fits you. It's not overly tight. I know a lot of us, added on the COVID-19 in terms of weight for ourselves. So make sure it's comfortable. Make sure you're not going to sweat in it, right? So got to feel good. Make sure you're feeling good about how you're dressing. I like this. I was taught by one of my mentors, you always want to be one notch better than what you think everyone is going to be dressed like when you're there. Okay. So even when I'm living my life, I'm always a little bit, I'm a little, I've got a little style, but it's not over the top. I might have jeans on, but I'm just a little bit, just so if they meet me, they're like, it's good. This is like a bum, you don't want to be like that. Right. So feel good about how you feel and pump yourself up. Nothing wrong with that. Right. I like to, before I get into a situation, maybe I'll go and you'll put on some kind of great music, right? Like Rocky. I love the, da 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 da, whatever, the theme song from Rocky, or whatever it is, to pump yourself up. Maybe it's some motivational audio track, whatever it is, get yourself pumped up. So now I'm going to give you a quick, unless Cameron, you have something to add here, but the next thing I'm going to kind of go into is the 4 simple steps on how to make a friend out and about. This is crazy, because it intimidated the heck out of me. I'll be honest with you. The idea of making friends. Yeah, I think I may have shared this publicly, but one of the gentlemen that became my mentor in life, he challenged me and he said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day. I was like, all right, well, how do you do that? And so I had to kind of learn along the way, and he gave me some advice, obviously. But so number 1 is break the ice, right? So if you see they have a Harvard sweatshirt on, hey, did you go to Harvard? Whatever, right? Cameron, if I met you, I might like, hey, that's a cool pink tie, whatever, right? Or maybe, hey,
I want to shout out Stephanie, who's saying Cameron taught the smile can go so far to feel comfortable with somebody, and I know that talks right into your, people are like dogs kind of.
Yeah.
If you're smiling at somebody, they probably don't want to say hello.
It's so true. Like if you break the ice, and somebody doesn't, number one, they bark at you like a dog, right? Okay, back away, right? But a lot of times you'll be surprised. There'll be like a dog, like a golden retriever. They want to say hello, whatever, right? And so, but sometimes people like Doberman pictures and they don't want to talk. All right, leave them alone. It's okay, right? It's the way it is. But break the ice, whatever it is. There's no clever anything, just anything. I've said the stupidest things, and people are like, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? Or whatever. Like I remember, the gym. When I was going to the gym for quite a while, I remember you would, I like to talk to people at the gym, And, the guy with a hoodie, he's got the headset on, and, and he looked like he's got the scowl on his face. And I would say something, or maybe even tap him on the shoulder. Okay. Honestly. Right. And, you would think he would like want to growl at you, but, he took those he's like, yeah, like smiled. And it's crazy, right? People are very open, believe it or not. So break the ice. Next is, what do you do? Or sorry, where are you from is the next step. Where are you from? Like, hey, you live around here, or, and that could be a lot of different things. And you can go, how long you live there? Why'd you move here from Florida? Why would you ever want to move to the Northeast from Florida? Whatever. You could make a lot of conversation. It could be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 levels of that conversation of where you're from, on the family, what brought you here, where'd you go, where'd you go to school, whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you could talk about on where, where you're from. And then the next piece, after that sort of winds down and you kind of run out of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 levels of that, you could say, hey, what do you do? Now, again, I know young Gen Zs, they don't like to talk about this, but what do you do doesn't mean what do you do for work, just so you know. Because I have a good friend who's extremely wealthy, and when you ask him that question, his answer is, well, I travel, I jet ski, I ski, it doesn't have to be that. So what do you do is the next one. And then the last thing is, and again, that could be, do you like it? How long you live there? How long you work there? What, and the last one is, as he has it here, is, hey man, we should stay in touch. And I like to whip out my phone and exchange numbers. And it's simple, right? Whether you have a card or not, it doesn't matter.
Let me talk about a personal failure here on this front, because this is an important step. So my father is married to a woman, and she has children. Her daughter and her granddaughter were up from Houston, Texas. They invited us to dinner Sunday night. We went out to dinner, and great time, a lot of conversation. And at the end, we said goodbye. And I didn't do that step. And I feel like I regret it on a couple of different levels, but what does it say? And I think this is the important point for you, if you're struggling, like, in saying, well, maybe you don't want to ask for that information, you feel uncomfortable. I feel like they may have felt like I dissed them, like I didn't want to stay connected with them because I didn't ask for their contact information. And I think that's the other side of the thing. I mean, we're sitting there, you may be in that schoolboy thing. You got to get the digits, businessman. I got to get the contact information so I can close the sale, right? Always be closing, right? But there's the other side of it, is the other person probably wants to stay in contact with you and would like to be invited to be in your network and that sort of thing. And so in this situation, I felt like I missed an opportunity for me, but I also felt like I didn't do the right thing by these family members. Yes, I could follow up with my mother-in-law, I can follow up with my father, but I could have just asked them directly, and it was a missed opportunity. And I don't know how that left them feeling at the end.
Right. Listen, I think there's a lot of value in that. And listen, what you learn from that is maybe not to do that next time, right? But but it's true. And to me, the best way to address that is just, I learned this in sales and business development and life. If you don't ask, you don't get. So I say, hey, we should stay in touch. It's a statement. And based on their response, if you get a head nod or a smile, yeah, that'd be great. Then why wouldn't you whip out the phone and just, exchange contact information? And I know there's probably some 20-somethings on here, and, you're probably saying, well, can't we just find each other on Instagram? Yeah, you could, but why not get the number? Just get the number. And then you can find them later on Instagram. I get the number, and then I find them on LinkedIn in my case. Okay. So that's another thing I wanted to share with you.
Well, I think this is the other side of the thing, right? We're talking about connecting authentically. And I always talk about, because we've had Bob Berg on the show, and we love the book, The Go-Giver, but I love The Go-Giver for the reason that I think a lot of us are altruistic. We want to help other people, and we need to put food on the table.
Right.
We have certain life goals. We want to get to certain places. And so that can, especially if you have negative views around money and helping people on it, and asking people for money, it can feel like a grind. But if you're about serving people and that you're going to help people, collecting that contact information. If you're on LinkedIn, you're connecting with people. I mean, I think one of the biggest, most valuable pieces of LinkedIn versus Instagram, and Instagram's got a lot of business tools. I don't want to knock Instagram, but versus Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's got you a little bit closer to people's contact information. Most of the time, once you're connected with somebody, you can actually get into their contact info on their profile, unless they've hidden it, when a lot of people haven't. There's just so many ways for you to actually reach and connect with people. And if you got somebody's email, if LinkedIn goes down tomorrow, you've built up 16,000 connections like you have, or 6,000 connections like I'm getting close to now, and that goes away tomorrow, do you have people's email? Do you have a way to get in touch with them? So you always want to have that backup. Email shouldn't be going anywhere, but that's why we have these social media tools, so that if that system breaks down, right, you always have a backup. And keeping that is really important. Russ Hedge, thanks for being on the show with us.
It was a blast being on the show.
Key, yeah. Marissa Blase, LOL, I'm in my 20s and I don't want to do business on IG. I hear you, Marissa. There's too many channels too, right? Focusing. I mean, Steve focuses on LinkedIn. I'm focused on LinkedIn, but I also am in some other channels, but I'm not in everything, right? Although I can see them sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
all right, so
yeah, so a couple of I want to just cover a couple of pointers to attract rather than repel. Okay, one thing is to smile with your eyes. Can you see it? I mean, I on purpose I smile with my eyes, friendly eyes, warm eyes. I have a friend. He shaved his head, and his head has been shaved for quite a while, but he's got this maniacal stare. That's probably not going to attract people. You want to kind of have that sort of warmer, softer eyes. Speak third person. Instead of giving advice, just talk about maybe, hey, my friend Cameron said this about, people skills or whatever. Just instead of saying you need better people skills, you talk about your friend. Your friend said this about, or maybe you say somebody, it's interesting. I had the same kind of challenge, and a mentor to me said this about me, right? So that's a way of saying, hey, you should do this without saying you should do this. Okay. Compliment them. Make sure you're really edifying them, lifting them up, building them up, right? People love to be able to, number one, their favorite topic is themselves. Their favorite word in the whole wide world is their name. So make sure you're speaking positively, you're uplifting them, you're encouraging them. And that will definitely make sure to attract the right people. And a couple closing thoughts here, and then I know we have some other things we want to share, some interesting news. But remember, it should never be about you. It should always be about them. If you keep that in mind, right? Cameron mentioned the book, The Go-Giver, great book. Our man Bob Berg and John David Mann. Bob Berg was on our show not long ago, and certainly great way to live your life. Make sure it's about them, not about you. And if you do these things, you work on being authentic on social media. Make sure you're authentic in terms of telling your story and being personal, not necessarily being a business person all the time. Let the wall down a little bit. You'll be surprised. You do that on the video calls, and make sure that you're warm and you're inviting and you're engaging. You really showing somebody, hey, I want to hear about you. I don't want to pitch you. I want to hear about you. I want to learn about you. I want to learn your story. Here's my story. The only reason I tell my story, honestly, Cameron, the only reason is because I want you to be able to tell your story to me, right? So I want you to open up, and I figure sometimes people will be less apt to open up if they don't hear you tell your story first. So sometimes I tell my story first. It depends, but you'd be surprised if you ask somebody, hey, tell me your story. I'd love to hear your story, your journey. The born and raised, the whole 9 yards. Let me hear it. People are very open to that. So again, video calls, and then meeting people out and about. Living your life. It's an amazing way to live, where you could just allow people to just come into your life and make new friends. That's the way I look at it. I'm making new friends. When I speak to somebody, and after 3, 4, 5 minutes, there's a conversation like I just described. We're friends, and you're right, Cameron. It's almost like you're dissing them if you don't exchange contact information. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, we're friends. We might as well stay in touch.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I want to just give an opportunity to the audience. If you've been listening to the show, and we appreciate you for being here, Susan Castelli, when you open up to others, it invites them in. Absolutely. Love to know if you have questions. If you missed the opportunity to get a question in with us live, please follow up in the comments below, in the DMs, right? The fires in the follow-up, right? The business, all the goodness is in the follow-up. So definitely follow up with us. Marissa says, Steve just did that with me yesterday. Feels supernatural and authentic. Testimony from that. Russ is here. He was on, Steve was on Russ's show on Monday. Thanks for showing up here with us. We appreciate you. Stephanie checking in. If you have questions about how to be more authentic, you're saying, oh my goodness, these guys do such a good job. Please get in. We're happy to help. I think that's one of the things that I really love about Steve is that he's happy to help. Our first conversation was a recommendation on a book that changed my life. Talked a lot about it here, the E-Myth Revisited. I was talking about it this morning on a networking call with a franchise guy who's going to be on BizDev Live. So just it's always amazing when you reach out with people, connect with them around your real motivations, and that allows you to connect really authentically in a real way that allows you both to explore each other's interests, understand where people are at, and then it's that much easier to send something their way that they're interested in because you're going to remember it, one, and two, it's like, oh wow, they're interested in this, let me send them this article or this book or this opportunity because I know a real sense of them, not just what they do or their role in their business. Steve, closing thoughts before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, just listen, start where you are. Don't feel like you have to be a great expert. Just be authentic, be a giver, and just know that you're great, you're awesome, and you could do anything you put your mind to. So don't set limits on yourself, right? I'm reading, just finished a great book, Soundtracks. You know, you got to reprogram those soundtracks on your head and convince yourself that you're awesome and you could do anything you want to do.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. We're going to do what we always do. Go out there and crush it. I got a little video that's going to play right after this of me calling you to action on things. One is follow the Master Connector hashtag. We're trying to build that up. And if you love this content, you won't miss a thing there. Go to Steve's profile, hit his bell. And then also we have this workshop coming up June 7th and 8th. Send a DM to Steve if you're interested in that. Hashtag workshop. I know you don't know the details. We got some fun stuff coming for you for free if you just show us that interest, and then we'll be following up with the details for the workshop. Steve, let's do it. Let's count it down.
Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Crush it. Go out there, be the light, everybody. We will see you next week. What do we talk about next week, Steve?
Next week, we're going to talk about going from being inward focused to others focused to being a go-giver. It's going to be an amazing episode.
I'm so excited for it. Going from outward focused,
inward focused,
going from inward focused to outward focused.
It's self-absorbed kind of
big deal. There's so many people that are messaging you on LinkedIn. As soon as they connect with you, they're sending you that business request, or they're asking you some uncomfortable question. They haven't figured it out yet. We're going to be here for them. So if you get one of those messages this week, send them the link to the next show. We'll help them out. We appreciate you, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned from this message endorsed by the Master Connector. Thank you for watching the show. I have two, count them, 2 big call to actions for you. Number one, if you haven't clicked on the bell on Steve Spiro, the Master Connector's profile, go to that bell, hit it so you never miss this live show and post from Steve Spiro. And then the second big request is if you're interested in learning from Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, and myself, Cameron Toth, host of BizDev Live and the co-host of this show, June 7th and 8th, we are conducting a workshop. We got a lot going on. And for anybody that gets in early, I know you don't know the cost, you don't know all the details. June 7th and 8th, you just got a date. It's going to be a virtual conference, but we got a lot coming into it. If you're interested in being a part of that, take a leap, get into Steve Spiro's DMs, hit him with hashtag workshop. We got some extras coming your way, whether or not you register for the conference at all. We just want to see if you're interested. So let us know that, and we look forward to seeing you next week.